Amen.
Father Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for our Lord for this class. Father, we pray that we will learn. Oh Lord.
Is that supposed to be your network or my network? Are you done praying?
Yes.
Like your network was not good enough because I couldn't hear you. But all the same, welcome back to class this morning. In our last class, we were still looking at, we're still on the topic, Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. We're still treating Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. We're able to get an introduction or an analysis into Emily Bronte's. We looked at the setting, and we started the analysis of the text itself. We came to a conclusion that we had two generations, right? The first generation and the second generation. And we also said the first generation came as a result of relationships that happened in the first relationship. The characters we have in the second relationship, in the second generation, came as a result of relationships in the first generation. And we also have said we have two households. We have that of the Lintons and we have that of the what? Henshers. Now we were able to, Emmanuel that was just coming in, we dived into the setting. We said we have two settings in Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. We have the Wuthering Heights itself, and we have Thrushgross Grange. Now, the Henshers stays in Wuthering Heights, while the Lintons stays where? At what? Thrushgross Grange. And we said in between Wuthering Heights and Thrushgross Grange, we have the moor. And the moor is a desolate island. Now, that's where we have the happenings in Wuthering Heights. We're able to look at also the characters in Wuthering Heights. We also looked at the characters in where? Thrushgross Grange. Now, just like I said earlier, I said the characters in the second generation came in as a result of relationships that happened with characters in the first generation. That was where we stopped in 2 weeks ago. And last week, I gave an assignment for you to tell me why Heathcliff left Wuthering Heights. We started with that, but there was a question we were supposed to answer. Now, Deborah asked a question. She said, when we had two narrators, we came to a conclusion that we had two narrators. That is Mr. Lockwood and who? Nellie Dean. Now, we said Mr. Lockwood got information about the Henshers when he actually came to pay a visit. Now, when he came to pay a visit, that was the second time he was bitten by a dog and could not leave Wuthering Heights. And so he had to spend the night in Wuthering Heights. And so he was ushered into a room where Heathcliff never allowed anyone to sleep. It was when he got to that room, he got prior knowledge of what happened to the Henshers. Now, Deborah asked a question. She said, when Mr. Lockwood visited, that's Wuthering Heights. Remember, we said he was a tenant that got where? That came to seek for accommodation in where? Wuthering Heights. She asked, where was Hindley? Was Hindley in college then, or he had sold out his the house through gambling to Heathcliff? Now, so today we're going to start from that area before we actually move into looking at the narrators in Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. So Deborah, before I move on now, what did you find out?
I found out that he actually gambled the house because he didn't have money.
So the house was what? Gambled away, right? So it was through that gambling that he became the what? Landlord. Do you understand?
The landlord.
He now became the landlord of what? Wuthering Height. Thank you very much. I know you will do a good job. So we were trying to also argue if what did you argue again? Was it not two arguments we made that day? Was it that one alone or it was two?
It's only that one.
It was only that one. So today we're going to continue from where we stopped. Johanna, are you following?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So let me quickly go so that you can. Are you seeing the slide now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So this was
yes.
a bit. We are now in analysis of Emily Bronte's Wuthering Height. So let's give ourselves a quick introduction before we move into today's class. We said Wuthering Height is a Gothic fiction. Now, when you see anything that has to do with Gothic is characterized by an atmosphere of mystery and horror. So when you watch a horror film, you could say those horror films are Gothic fiction. They are characterized by an atmosphere of mystery and horror, and they have elements of ghosts, haunted houses, darkness, dirt, etc. So the setting of Gothic novel is usually a haunted castle or mansion. For those of you that are just joining in, please just follow. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can get the notes or the full teaching and you can listen to it. So we won't go back because of you. We're moving forward. So just listen, follow keenly, and pick the one you can pick. And for those ones you can't, just subscribe to the YouTube channel. You will get the full notes and the full teaching. Now, just like I said, we said in Wuthering Heights, we have two generations, we have two households, and the action revolves around pairs of children. The action revolves around pairs of children. Now, these are the generations. In the first generation, we have Catherine, we have Heathcliff, we have Hindley, we have Isabella, we have Edgar, and we have another character that was omitted. That is who? Frances. Now, in the second generation, we have Little Katie, Little Linton, and we have Harrington. Just like I told you earlier, I said the characters in this generation came in as a result of friendships and relationships that happened in the first generation. For example, okay, now I told you that we have two households. We have the Henshers and we have the what? Lintons. And please just go to the YouTube channel. You will see some of our classes there. You go through it so that you can help yourself out with some of the things we did. Now, we said in Wuthering Heights, we also have two households. We have the Henshers and we have the Lintons. Characters under the Henshers are Catherine, Hindley, and we have the adopted Heathcliff. Catherine, Hindley, and the adopted Heathcliff. Now, under the Lintons, we have Edgar and Isabella. These are the characters, the main characters under the two households. So, we said Hindley left for school. Hindley was the biological child of Mr. Henshaw. But Heathcliff was an adopted lad that was picked from Liverpool by Mr. Henshaw and was brought to the house. And so when Heathcliff was brought to the house, Hindley became jealous and angry because Heathcliff was taking the attention of his father. Both Hindley's mother and Catherine initially were not friendly towards Heathcliff. But at the end, we said Heathcliff and Catherine became close friends. Now, Hindley was a spoiled child. He was a spoiled child. He had no respect for his parents. He does things that are not called for. And so he was like a truant, a spoiled child. And so Mr. and Mrs. Henshaw had to advise, they were advised to send Hindley to school. And so Hindley went to college, and at the end of college, he returned with a lady. The name of the lady is Frances. And so both of them married, and they gave birth to a child called Harrington. Now, as a result of that childhood friendship that started between Catherine and Heathcliff, they fell in love. And we said that love was a soul tie, which means both of them cannot survive without each other. But on a particular day, we said Heathcliff and Catherine were playing, and then they left Wuthering Heights to where Thrushgrass Grange to play. And there they peeped at the window of the Lintons. As a result of that, Edgar and Catherine were playing. And at that instance, as Heathcliff and Catherine peeped in, they made a laugh, they laughed. And Edgar and Edgar and Isabella now thought maybe they were spies. And as they were shouting quickly, Catherine and Heathcliff wanted to run. As they ran, they were trying to run. Let me make use of that word. They were trying to run. But in the process, Catherine was beaten by a dog. And in the process of running, both Isabella and Edgar came out, and the maids and the servants, they noticed that it was Catherine who was at Wuthering Heights. But because Heathcliff was badly dressed, he had to run away, and Catherine was brought into the house to be cared for. Eventually, after some days, Catherine returned back to Wuthering Heights, a polished girl, more than what she was before. And so Heathcliff was surprised at the new person she was, and Catherine was also giving him attitude. Eventually, Edgar asked Catherine to marry him. Well, so Catherine and the maid Nellie Dean were having a discussion when Catherine told Nellie Dean that she actually loved Heathcliff, but she cannot get married to him because of what, Deborah?
To degrade herself.
Because she would degrade herself. And so she eventually said she was going to get married to Edgar, because he was from a well-respected family. Because he was from a well-respected, please, that person is distracting my class, so mute yourself. Because he was from a very respected family. Now, when she was discussing with Nellie Dean, Heathcliff overheard their conversation, and because of this, he left Wuthering Heights. Now, Catherine and Edgar got married. And what happened? In the course of got married, after Heathcliff left Wuthering Heights, she puts to bed a 7-month-old baby and dies 2 hours later. So it automatically means Edgar and Catherine gave birth or were delivered of a baby of a child. And the name of the child is Little Katie or Katie. Young Katie or what? Little Katie. So there won't be misunderstanding. Now, Catherine, who got married to Edgar, later died in the course of childbirth. But just like I said, she delivered of a 7-month-old baby and dies 2 hours later. And the name of the child is who? Little Katie. Now, we said Heathcliff later returned to, he left Wuthering Heights, a poor, unkept, uneducated, adopted lad, excuse me. But he returned to Wuthering Heights, a sophisticated and educated adult. Sorry, he returned to Wuthering Heights, a sophisticated adult. And so when he returned, then Catherine and Edgar were already married. So he returned and paid a visit to Catherine at Churchgold Grange. And immediately, Isabella, that's Edgar's younger sister, falls in love with him. Now, he showed no interest, but later thinks he could use her to achieve his aim of revenge to Edgar for marrying Catherine. Johanna, are you following? Johanna, are you following?
Yes, ma'am.
So what was my last sentence? If you're following, tell me my last sentence.
It was, you said that
Yes.
Edgar takes his revenge.
No. Heathcliff, you're not following. I will still ask another question now. So follow me keenly. Is that clear? I said Heathcliff later returned to Churchgold Grange. To Wuthering Heights, sorry. Heathcliff later returned to Wuthering Heights, a sophisticated and morally decent person. Now, when he returned to Wuthering Heights, he paid a visit to his soul tie. And who is that his soul tie? Johanna. We said he had a soul tie relationship with somebody. Who is that person?
Like
okay. Catherine, good. Catherine. But did they get married?
No, ma'am.
No. So the Catherine got married to who? You know it. Say it out. So Catherine later got married to who? She got married to who? Edgar. Are you following me?
Okay, ma'am.
She got married to what? Edgar. Now, it was because Heathcliff learned that Catherine was going to marry Edgar instead of himself. That was why he left Wuthering Heights. But he returned back a sophisticated young man and then decided to visit who? Catherine and Edgar, where? Churchgold Grange. Are you following now? So when he got there, Edgar's younger sister, named Isabella, fell in love with what? Heathcliff at first sight. But Heathcliff showed no interest, but later thinks he could use her to achieve his aim of revenge on Edgar for marrying Catherine. So eventually, Heathcliff decided to elope with Isabella to get married to her. Along the line, Isabella got what? Pregnant. For who now? Joanna. She got pregnant. Is it
Heathcliff.
now for? Okay, she got good. She got pregnant for Heathcliff. But remember, I said Heathcliff never liked her. He was just using her as a pawn to get his revenge on Edgar. So, I told you that Isabella got pregnant for Heathcliff out of all the maltreatment and harassment he gave her. Now, she also gave birth to a child, but now the child is a what? Son. The one between Hindley and Frances is a son that is called Harrington. The one between Edgar and Catherine is a girl called Little Katie. The one between who now? Heathcliff and Isabella is what? A son called what? Little Linton. So let's move on. That person that is just coming in, I don't want to call your name. You better put on your video now. Now, we said action revolves around pairs of children. Action revolves around pairs of children. We have Catherine and Edgar. We have Heathcliff and Isabella. We have Heathcliff and Hindley. If you're just coming in now, mute your audio and please keep quiet. We have Little Katie and Harrington. We have Little Katie and Little Linton. Now, we are supposed to start from here today. Sholafumi, put on your video. We are just coming to my class after how many years? Eh? Where have you been?
There was a problem with my phone. Then the Zoom was now like was having faults.
She's well with you. So how will you meet up with the classes?
Amen.
Haruna.
Now can
Eh? Who is that person? Who is that doing? Haruna. Talk to me. What happened? Why is your video off? I'm giving you the last opportunity now. If not, I'll remove you from my class. What is your excuse? Haruna. Who is Haruna? Is it Praise Haruna?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you read the text, Ajao? Ajao?
Yes, ma'am, to an extent.
All right. So just follow keenly. If you want to get the full notes and the full teaching, subscribe to our YouTube channel. The full teaching and the notes are there, so copy for your own good. We're supposed to start from the narrators in Emily Bronte's Wuthering Height today. Now, the two narrators we have are Mr. Lockwood and Nellie Dean. Now, there was, out of these two characters, we had one who actually got information about the ancients as a result of things he read or she read when he or she paid a visit to the anxious. Who is watching cartoon? Johanna, are you the one?
No, ma. Okay.
Who is that? Ajao?
Ma?
Are you close to your telly?
No, ma.
Deborah, are you the one?
Although it might be nice to have more than one color.
Johanna, you are the one.
Ma, I'm not the one.
Deborah. Deborah. Johanna, are you close to your television set?
No.
Ajao, are you close to your television set?
No, ma.
So who is lying now? So I said we're supposed to start with the narrators at Wuthering Height. Now we said out of these two narrators, we have those that actually got the information based on what he or she read. And we have another who got his or her information based on the fact that he or she was actually there when all those things happened. So between Mr. Lockwood and Nellie Dean, who do you think got the information based on maybe something he or she came across? Or who is the other person that got his or her information about the Henshers or the Heathcliffs or the Caterings based on the fact that he or she was there when it happened? Deborah, don't talk. So let's leave it for these characters that are here now. Praise Haruna. Praise Haruna. Or mute yourself. Shola for me. Among the two characters now, who got his information based on maybe what he or she came across, and who got his or her information again based on the fact that he or she was actually there when the whole thing happened? Yes, who is answering me?
Ma, I think
I'm not
Mr.
hearing you.
Lockwood information. Mr. Lockwood got
Yes.
his information when he was based on when he was then
Nellie Dean
got her information based on what she heard.
Praise. Between Mr. Lockwood and Nellie Dean, who got his or her information based on what he or she came across, and who got the information based on the fact that he or she was actually there when it happened? Haruna. You can't unmute yourself. Yes. I asked a question, so I'm expecting your answer.
Please repeat the question.
I said we're talking about the two narrators in Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. And we concluded that we have two narrators. Mr. Lockwood and Nelly Dean. Now, I asked the question, I said, between these two characters, there's a particular one that got...
I didn't get the question.
You're still not getting the question?
I don't understand.
You don't understand what?
What you're saying.
You've not read the text at all?
I started from the beginning.
And I asked that, what are the narrators in Emily Bronte's Wuthering Height? Do you know the narrators?
Heathcliff.
The narrators?
I don't know.
You don't know because you've been missing class. You've been missing classes. I won't go back again. So you just subscribe to our YouTube channel, get all the notes and the teaching. I won't come again and I will ask you questions in the next class. So,
Okay.
Deborah is not here. So we have two narrators in Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. One is Mr. Lockwood. Now, Mr. Lockwood is a new tenant who finds a new home at Wuthering Heights and decided to pay a visit to Wuthering Heights. Now, the first time he paid a visit, he wasn't answered, he wasn't given adequate attention. And that should have given him the signal that he wasn't actually invited to Wuthering Heights. But the second time, he paid a visit without a welcome. And so Mr. Heathcliff did not actually give him the attention he needed. And he was, because I think there was a storm and he needed to leave Wuthering Heights at that night. So he pleaded with Heathcliff to send him a servant that will see him off Wuthering Heights. Now, we said we had two settings in Wuthering Heights. We have in Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. We have Wuthering Heights itself, and we have Thrushgross Grange. The Henshers stays in Wuthering Heights, while the Lintons stays where? At Thrushgross Grange. In between Wuthering Heights and Thrushgross Grange is where we have what? The moor. M-O-O-R. And we said the moor is a desolate land. Now, that place is where Mr. Lockwood is supposed to go pass through, but there was a storm. Now, he pleaded with Heathcliff to allow him to pass through, but Mr. Heathcliff refused. So eventually, he wanted to prove a point, and on the way, he was beaten by a dog. And so he needed to be cared for. And then eventually he had to stay the night in Wuthering Heights. And so Zilla, also a maid in the house, attended to him and led him to a room where he was supposed to spend the night. That room he slept was where he saw journals of what actually happened in Wuthering Heights, starting from the Henshers, down to Catherine, down to little Katie, and how she eventually fell in love with Heathcliff, and eventually they didn't get married, and how she ended with Edgar. Those things he read in a room in the Heathcliff's house when he spent the night at what? Wuthering Heights. So Mr. Lockwood is a narrator, but the story he gave based on his narration, he gave based on what he read on the journals he met in the room he slept that night. Are you getting me? So he didn't get a full information of how or what happened to the Henshers and Heathcliff down to Catherine. So I said, despite the fact that the landlord shows a strong aversion for passing the night at the Heights, Mr. Lockwood did not spend the night in the lodge where the master does, he spent the night in the lodge where the master does not allow anyone to. And the master we're talking about here is who? Heathcliff. So I said, Mr. Lockwood does not allow anyone to spend the night in the lodge. And so that's Mr. Lockwood's first night at Wuthering Height reveals its Gothic atmosphere. And he got some useful guide and comprehensive understanding of the past and present occupants of the heights. So he wasn't there when all the story happened. He got his information about the occupants, both the past and present, based on the fact that he spent the night in a room where Mr. Heathcliff refuses anyone to sleep in. But Mr. Lockwood had the opportunity to. And so there he saw or met the journals that was written, and he got the information of the past and present occupants in the heights. That's one of the narrators in Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. The first I said is what? Mr. Lockwood. And I've given you reasons why Mr. Lockwood is one of what? A narrator. Now, the second one is who? Nellie Dean. The second narrator is who? Nellie Dean. Now, Nellie Dean is a maid to the Henshers. Nellie Dean is a maid to the Henshers. And she was the one that narrates the story of the Henshers to Lockwood on his request. Now, again, I said, Mr. Lockwood got his information based on the fact that he came across some journals, and through that, he read what actually happened to the past and present occupants of the people in Wuthering Heights. But Nellie Dean herself was actually there when the whole incident happened, because she was a maid to the Henshers. Is someone asking a question?
Yes, Mama.
Oh, yes.
In the movie is Nellie Dean and in the book is Ellen Dean. So if we get asked and then we have like the book.
You said in the movie she was who?
Nellie Dean, and in the book she's Ellen Dean.
Ellen Dean?
Yes, Ellen.
As long either it is Nellie Dean or it is Ellen Dean. At least there's a Dean there.
Okay.
Abby? So that should give you that should give you a clue that they're actually talking about her. Do you understand? You know, sometimes we have conflicting characters' names. But as long as the Dean is there, it should give you a clue that they're talking about the maid. That is Nellie Dean. And for those that are just coming to class today, you can watch the movie. There's a movie online. You just go to the YouTube. Yes, go to your YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel. In your search, type Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. The movie is there. You can watch it. But it should be under parental control. Don't go and watch something that will blind your eyes. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Deborah, did you watch yours under parental control?
Yes, ma'am.
You and who watched it?
Yeah, my book.
And your mom? Okay, that's good. So for those of you that are watching it, make sure you are strictly under parental guide as you're watching the movie. Now, we said the other character is Nellie Dean. And I said Nellie Dean actually got information about what happened because she was actually in the house as a maid when the whole story was revolving right from Mr. Henshaw, the owner of Wuthering Height, to when Heathcliff came to the house, to when Catherine, down to the past and present occupants. So she had a clear understanding of the happenings that happened. And so, because remember we said Lockwood got his own information based on the journals he read. But Nellie Dean was actually there when the whole story was revolving and evolving. So she had all the information at hand. And she also narrated those experiences to Lockwood on his request, based on the fact that he knows that she was actually in the house and could give a first-hand information of what actually happened. I hope you're following me now. Shola for me. Johanna. Shola for me. Do you understand now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Johanna, what of you? All right. So let's move on. So we said until she started her narration, Lockwood has been the one telling the story. And so Nellie became Mr. Lockwood's eyes, where he gets information into the past of the Henshaws and the present of Heathcliff. Until she started her narration, Lockwood has been the one telling the story, and so Nellie became Mr. Lockwood's eyes, where he gets information into the past of the Henshaws and the present of who? Heathcliff. She gives us useful information about Wuthering Height and Thrushcross Grange. So it was Nellie Dean that actually has the full information and useful information about Wuthering Height, what happened at Wuthering Height, and what happened at what? Thrushcross Grange. So the two narrators again are Mr. Lockwood and who? Nellie Dean. Mr. Lockwood got his information as a result of what he read or the journals he came across, while Nellie Dean actually got the information about the Lintons, about the Lintons and the Henshaws, based on the fact that she lived there and she was there when everything happened. Is that clear? So do I have any question? Do I have any question? Huh? Do I have a question? Johanna, do I have a question? Okay, I'm listening.
Okay. Ma, in the book,
yes,
it said that he was a servant.
I'm not getting you. Please, everybody mute yourself except Shola for me so that I can hear. Everybody mute yourself. Johanna, mute yourself. Okay, Shola for me.
Ma, in the book, they said that Nellie Dean was a housekeeper for both Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Gate.
No,
so
she
was she like?
Okay, let me explain to you. She was actually a maid in Wuthering Heights. Are you getting me? If you remember that Catherine was also in Wuthering Heights, right? But when she got married to Edgar, she had to move to what? Thrushcross Grange, isn't it? True or false?
Okay.
So eventually, she had to go and meet what? With the permission from Catherine, she had to go and meet Catherine at where? Church Girls Grange. So that was what took her from Wuthering Heights to Church Girls Grange.
Okay, ma'am.
Is your question answered?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Ma,
Yes?
I want to say something like, it's not like a question, but more like something I read in the book.
Like an addition?
Yes.
All right.
I think that, like now, if they ask us, we might make a mistake on whether Nelly Dean is the actual true narrator, like the person. Instead, she's the one that is giving information to Mr. Lockwood. But they said in the book that Mr. Lockwood is the main narrator, but she's the one giving him information.
Then that's what I said now. You know, right from the beginning, it was, if you read from the beginning of the text, when Mr. Lockwood found himself at Heathcliff's house, right? That night where he slept, he started giving the narration as based on what he read from the book. Are you getting me? So it was finally when he got to meet Nelly Dean. There was a time, no? There was a time Nelly Dean and Lockwood met themselves. Did you read that part, Deborah?
No, ma.
No, there was a time. You know that there was a time he went to visit Heathcliff, I think the second or the third time, or when he became a tenant, and he finally met Nelly Dean. Nelly Dean served him tea. Read through the summary or read through the text again. Nelly Dean served him tea. And so he was now asking Nelly Dean who she was. And he was now asking, when she told him who she was, he now knew that, okay, she must have information on what has happened because she has been living there. Do you understand? And eventually, when he got to know that she had first-hand information, she started telling him what actually has happened right from the past to the what? Present. Do you understand? Mr. Lockwood is, that's why I say Mr. Lockwood is actually the narrator. But he kept giving us more information later based on what Nelly Dean tells him. That's why if you read here, I said, until she started her narration. Her narration was when she started telling Mr. Lockwood her own part of the story, based on the fact that she saw when everything happened. Do you understand the border now? So if you read, until she started her narration, Lockwood has been the one telling the story. And so Nelly became Mr. Lockwood's eyes. Do you understand? When we say Mr. Lockwood's eyes, it means Mr. Lockwood is blind. So Nelly Dean is now the one leading him and giving him the eyes to what? See. Do you understand the border now?
Yes.
So Nelly Dean is the one giving Mr. Lockwood the information, and Mr. Lockwood now tells us the information. It's still the same thing. Is that clear? But we are just trying to tell you that there are two narrators. Mr. Lockwood is actually the main narrator, but eventually, Nelly Dean started giving us our own information based on the fact that Mr. Lockwood asked her to do that. Are you getting me? And so Mr. Lockwood started getting more information when Nelly Dean actually started telling her her own part based on the fact that she lived in the house. Do you now understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Or is it still confusing?
No, I understand.
Do you understand now? Okay, so we are done with the household, the generation, and the what? Narrators. So in our next class, we will dive into looking at the text itself, and then we come to a what? Conclusion. For those that are just coming to class today, I said, go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The notes and the teaching are there, so you can help yourself. Is that clear? Shola Fumi and Haruna. Deborah, has Haruna been attending class all through this week?
I don't know.
You have not been seeing her?
I don't used to check.
You don't used to check? Haruna,
Yes, ma'am.
I want to see your face now. My class is up now. Haruna, Shola Fumi. Okay. Don't worry, we will chat. We'll do our chatting later. So have a wonderful day. Johanna,
Huh?
you know how to check on our YouTube channel, right?
No, ma.
Go to the YouTube channel. Just go to our YouTube. Go to check your parents' WhatsApp. Mr.
Okay.
Jude sent the YouTube channel there. So subscribe there. Then you can see the notes there. You can copy and keep yourself abreast with what we have been doing. Is that clear? All right. So have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.